Hey everybody, I'm Dillon Jr. and this is the Dirty 30. The best highlights from all of our podcasts this week. 30 minutes every single Friday. The Dirty 30 coming at you. Let's get right to it.
Hey guys, welcome to Actions Detrimental post Las Vegas, the first race of the round of 8, and we come home with a dub.
Did you think that race was winnable with 15 to go?
Well, that's not true. When I got clear of that wreck and went from starting 9th, the wreck happened. Now I'm 6th on the outside, and now I'm behind a 4-tire car. I thought the key moment was Brad. There's a lot of key moments. Brad was on 2. I didn't want to start in the same lane as him because I thought that, I was going to have to go 3 wide on him to get around him. That likely breaks my momentum. I'm likely to get freight trained one way or another. When he chose the lane he chose, it now put me 6th on the outside. I'm behind Larson. He's behind 2 tires. I got Brad on the inside of Larson with 2 tires, and it's like, okay, now me and him are going to be the only guys on offense here. Like, we should be rolling. And I was really surprised that Larson didn't get a better restart. We took off there. I gave him a push. I was pretty close. I really wasn't on his bumper much. He actually was off the 22 way more than I thought.
Both one, first and second, I feel like had a gap.
Yeah. And at that point, I was able to get to the outside of him. Now, I didn't end up gaining any positions from that, but it just, that allowed me to kind of feel my car out in some clean air and realize that this thing had superpowers.
Now that you've had 24 hours, what's 60 mean to you?
I mean, I just never thought. Like when on NASCAR's social post, and it was like win 1, and then the ticker went till it was like win 27. Like the 2016 Daytona 500 was win 27. How have we won so many races in the last 9 years? Like, that's a lot. We're now at 60. In 2016 Daytona 500 was win 27. I mean, we've gotten hot lately, and it's just they rack up quickly. It's crazy because as a driver, and we expect to win so much that I feel like, gosh, if we go 4 or 5 weeks without winning, it feels like a freaking eternity. But it's hard to win, and if you can average 3.5, 4 wins a year, they just tally up really, really quickly. And for me personally, what does it mean? It's like I still feel like when I look at the names on the list that I'm now a part of for the top 10, I feel like my name does stick out as not one of the greats of the sport. I see the names. I'm like, oh, these are the legends of the sport. These are the people that grew the sport, where it's just the best of the best. And then, lots of them are guys that I raced against in my era. And so I knew how good they were. It's just very gratifying that I was able to still race at a high level this long into my career.
You're usually very stoic. You don't show too much emotion, but it got to you when you won. What was that?
It's just been such a build-up, I think, around the number. It was, obviously, some home stuff going on, and really happy that my dad is able to see 60, because him and my mom just had so much sacrifice that they endured to keep me going, to keep their son's dreams alive like this. They just were so selfless. And you could argue reckless, in keeping this thing alive. But it's just like working and getting a trophy like that. That's what makes you really proud, is that, you know, that this all paid off. It all paid off in the end.
Did it make it any sweeter that it felt as if the fans also appreciated it?
Yes.
Like, you went from being the most booed driver in driver intros yesterday to the most celebrated at the end. When you were driving your car through that, up to victory lane, right? There's fans on both sides of the barrier. It just felt like a big moment that they all appreciated.
I mean, I truthfully was really surprised not to hear boos from the crowd after the race. Like, usually it's just a given. I'm going to get, usually the fans in general after the race, you're going to get, even if they're not fans of you, people always just get cheers because it's the end and, it's the winner. But all of my post-race interviews, when I get out of the car at the start-finish line, it is, it's 50-50, I think. I'm sure there were some boos, but I didn't hear them. I just didn't hear them at all. I thought it was all really positive, and it truthfully was before I said anything. So I don't think I influenced it in that kind of way. It makes me very humbled and very appreciative of the fans to do that, because it certainly meant a lot for me personally. That was a big accomplishment for myself, a life accomplishment, a life goal in this sport, in my profession. And for them to kind of give me that moment, I really appreciated that.
But also, the fans in the stands don't get to see what was on the broadcast. You tearing up in your car on that cool down lap. Like, people watching on TV, they're all privy to that. But the fans in the stands don't see that. So it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know how you're feeling in the moment until you get out of it. And I felt like they had already felt good about it.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and watched, and like, thank goodness my shield was down. Like, y'all didn't see the heavy stuff. The heavy stuff came down far before I raised that shield. I was a wreck. That the entire last lap and then cool down lap was just, I was a mess. And so when I finally pulled myself together is when I raised my shield. So it's just I don't know, sometimes it just it hits you.
What was that conversation like when you talked to your dad?
I mean, he's just so proud of me. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't want to come off super soft, and this that's not me. But it's great because he always sends me messages and stuff after the race, and sometimes we have phone calls that talk about it, and he's always got questions. But either way, it's like, he's always like, "You're the best. You're the best." He's my number one hype man when it comes to confidence. And so, he just always says how proud he is, and certainly, I'm so happy that he was able to see all those wins.
What did your mom say when you got home here today?
She's just super excited, really, really excited. I came home, the kids had some confetti poppers ready to go, and my mom was videotaping it and whatnot. So she just came, give me a big hug. Just that's kind of what my mom does.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Door Bumper Clear, where some of us are running on very little sleep. Some of us because they stayed up too late studying notes. Some of us because we were flying back forward. I don't know. You may be the most rested person here. But I am still Freddie Kraft, I think. Spotter for Bubba Wallace, spotter for Dean Thompson this week. Joining me as always, Thomas. How are you today?
Good morning. I feel good. I got a little toothache, but
you had an interesting remedy for your toothache. You were just telling us.
Yeah,
just drink a bottle of tequila.
Not a bottle. No. No.
Carson, I don't know where the hell Carson is today. Who knows? I forget where she took off to. But Stephanie Odie has joined us. I don't know what the hell you did to get thrown to the wolves like this. Speaking of how the hell did you get here?
Yeah, really.
Mike Ford,
Where did you come
how
from?
the hell did this happen?
Yeah.
How did I end up here right now?
That is the question. This is as I know, Lee DFA. I was catching up on episodes, sort of get my bearings, and surreal is maybe not the word I use. Completely bad crazy might be the word.
Hi, Dillon. The communication mishap. Who was miscommunicating? What exactly happened? So it was about 31 laps to go. Ty Dillon slowing down, getting into pit road, and then massive slam. Obviously, William Byron did not see him signal or anything. He said that he didn't hear anything. And then you see Ty saying that he told his spotter to tell William's spotter that, but he didn't get any signal. So do you think that Williams' frustration was warranted, or should he have been more aware of the cycle?
So before you go, I'm so excited for this conversation. This is, I think, in the NASCAR podcast power rankings on this discussion, Door Bumper Clear is P1. So can you, instead of just answering that question, like just do a deep dive on how this all works, because I think it's fascinating of like what is the spotter's role when someone pits and just everything that goes into it, because that was the one kind of like just thing that was hanging out there yesterday at the end of the race that no one really understood.
It's the perfect
how to
question
answer.
for it too.
So, in this moment, so I think one of two things happened here. And there's a lot of stuff that happens up there that, it happens quick. Like I know that the spotter, the 10, basically had a half a lap to communicate. They made the call to pit as he basically passed the start finish line.
For the record, Freddie, they were terrible.
They were awful. Yeah.
They were by far the slowest car out there at that time.
Yeah, by far. And they were like the first ones to pit every time, so they were usually ended up on the oldest tires, late in runs. So whatever, he gets the call to pit. Now, what happens in our world is we will try to run down to the guy. Like if it's me, if I'm spotting the 10, I will try to run down to the guy and let him know, hey, tap him on the shoulder. I'm pitting this time.
The leader or which guy?
Whoever is behind us. It's usually whoever is behind you, or it may be the next two guys behind you, just to let them know.
So you could be talking to multiple people.
You could be talking to multiple people, but it's tough. Like where these two guys stood, they're very far apart on the roof. So I don't know that the spotter of the 10 had time to go down there. He may have. Sometimes you just kind of step back, get on a stool, and get up and wave and tell them. Like a lot of times you're like or you just have a guy hanging over the rail. Tom, you've seen this before, where you're hanging over the railing, waving your hand like that's a signal to pit. But sometimes you can, like if you're too separated, you can't see that. So you try to go down to the guy, and I think one of two things happened here. Either he didn't have time to go down there and was trying to wave from his spot, hoping that he would see him, and Brandon obviously never saw him. It's pretty obvious the 24 had no idea that the 10 was pitting. The other problem is it's possible that in this moment, we also communicate as a lap down car. Like if the leader's catching us or lead lap car is catching us, I'll look at somebody and say, I am going to the top or I am going to the bottom. And it's all hand signals. We're not really talking because it's probably a distance between this. So there's very possible, like my hand signals, and I'm going to have to change these now, but my hand signals for pitting and I'm going to the bottom are the same. Like if I look down at somebody like this and I go like that means I'm pitting. I'm coming this time. And usually if they look, they're right behind me or whatever, they'll know, especially if we're bad off position. But it's possible that the spotter of the 10 did like pitting
because it wasn't time to pit yet.
No, he was
right.
pitting,
There was no. We weren't in our pit cycle.
Yeah. So when he does this, you hear the spotter of the 24 tell William that the 10's going to run the second or third lane. Because I think that maybe if he did see a hand signal saying down, he might have thought that he was going to give him the bottom. Like, you're going to get the bottom here. And that was the message that got relayed. I don't know that that's what happened, but it could have happened. Where that can be easily confused with I'm pitting or you're gonna you go to the bottom. And it's just like it says here, miscommunication is the best term for it, because I don't know. Obviously, nothing was done maliciously, and I kind of Ty would be the one I maybe put the most fault on, just because he didn't execute his entry very well. He ends up sliding off the bottom. Sometimes you see a guy
when you have a car that's handling that bad. It looks like that all the time. And you how many times you guys up there when a car is really slow and it's just all over the racetrack and it's all over? Well, sometimes you can't even slow it down well enough to get to pit road, you know. And he was, I think at the time he was he was a second and a half off the pace.
Yeah, I just think that he got to the point there when I think he heard in his interview, like, he was almost relieved that took him out of the race because they were so bad. But, you know, in that moment, like it happened the day before, that in that race with, you know, we were running down the backstretch and Charles made the call to pit and Priest was right behind us. And I knew I didn't have time to get to Priest's guy. So I told Bubba, I'm like, you really have to let Priest know you're coming here, which they do in multiple ways. You see him wave out the window. You'll see him swerve back and forth down the back straightaway. That's kind of a signal to the guy behind you that I'm coming to pit road here. And I didn't see any of that out of Ty, you know, so you can blame the spotter if you want, but a lot of it's on you as well. You got to execute. Like if Williams sees Ty slowing down on the white line,
I like to see when they told him to pit, though.
They told Ty to pit about the start finish line.
Oh, the lap before.
My
God. Okay.
Yeah, so they had about a lap, 3/4 of a lap to figure it out, but it was. Yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate, but, you know, I think Ty could have done a lot to help there and you know that these guys are behind you. You know, like what's going on around you, but I think Ty was probably just really frustrated at how his day was going. And
so going off that great question, the next question is, do you guys now this weekend get together and talk about that as spotters?
Yeah.
Like, do all you guys go, man, what do we need to do differently?
We talked about it on the roof yesterday because obviously the 24 spotter was pretty heated at the 10 spotter. And you know, at the moment, it's like, hey, let's everybody calm down. You know, let's we don't know what happened.
Can you go into details on what heated means?
I didn't hear it. I couldn't really hear it. There were kind of a few people down from me. I saw two of them get heated, yelling at each other. Then I saw somebody else, Tyler Green, kind of went in and diffused the situation and said, hey, man, this guy, you don't know that he did anything wrong. You know, I don't know what happened. I wish I knew that he went down there or didn't. You know, and I like I said, I know there's probably 25 people between the two of them on the roof. So it's hard to get down there to them. There's bags, there's everywhere on the roof nawadays. So,
wires, cables,
so
monitors.
The amount of monitors and iPads up there is driving me insane. But
so do you guys now will go through your council? Like, how does that?
So I mean, we won't. We have a group chat that we'll all talk about. But like I said, it's probably something that's very specific to that moment. Just a miscommunication between those two, where it was very obvious that the 24 did not know that the 10 was pitting, and we have to figure out what the spotter of the 10 could do better to let that know, or to let him know, or the driver of the 10, whoever really dropped the ball there, because obviously, you know, this changes a lot of things as far as the playoffs are concerned.
Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. back again for another episode of the Dale Jr. Download, and I am remote today. Kids are on fall break. So we go to Talladega. There's an opportunity for Denny to be a good teammate. You know, Denny can be calculative on what he wants to do, who he wants to help, who he doesn't want to help, right? I think that's a pretty neat spot to be in if you're Denny Hamlin. Other drivers in the final are still kind of racing to get in, right? You have Byron. We know kind of Blaney and those guys what they have to do, but you got Byron at minus 15, Larson's at plus 35. He's pretty good. He's in a pretty good situation. He just doesn't need to crash out. But Byron and Chase Elliott, minus 15, minus 23. What's going to be the protocol with teammates? Because we know in the past there's been a lot of manufacturer orders. There's been a lot of teammate orders. We've seen that fade away a little bit. It's not quite as big of a part of super speedway racing as it used to be. Now it's more about fuel mileage and so forth. But kind of what's the attitude if you're a teammate to another driver in the chase going into this race?
I mean, I think this is this is a scenario that we really haven't seen in a while, as far as heavy hitters needing to make up some ground, like Joey and Blaney here. Normally they're in the plus at this point, or have been in the plus, and they're in a good spot. Now you got two A's that need to win this race, and now that changes. To me, it changes the whole thing. How these guys now have to race each other.
You've got 5 championships below the cut line right now.
Yeah. It's a whole different scenario, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm interested in how they work with each other now.
Well, if I was the driver, of any of those cars, I would just tell everybody, like, I'm gonna try to do what I can to be a good teammate when that's possible, but I'm not gonna do anything that I think is detrimental to me, even losing one position. So I'll race and be a good teammate, but I will not do a thing that's going to cost me a spot. I always want to be moving forward and trying to be at the front of the field and leading every lap. And so there'll be things that I do out on the racetrack that you'll be like, damn it, that wasn't good. That wasn't a good teammate move, but it's something I had to do for myself that I felt like was put me in the position to try to win this race.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how long Blaney and Logano work together early on the play work, and then at what point
For sure.
what point do you go, all right, we're not teammates?
Yeah, well, you got to beat this guy. They're racing each other for the last
That's what I'm saying. Like,
spot, too.
at what point does that drop off? Like, is it 10 to go? Like,
I don't know, man.
No. It drops
Earlier.
off coming off a turf.
I don't know.
No, not earlier. Listen, if Blaney and Joey are running first and second with 20 to go, it don't matter who's.
I agree.
They're not going to shuffle one or the other out early. They're going to need that teammate to be able to stay in those positions all the way to the finish. They're going to try to work together for the benefit of both of them all the way to the finish. And then I think, coming to the white, that's when it gets a little blurry. And you may see a teammate with a run he has to take. And he's going to have to, he's going to make that choice.
Yep.
He's going to do that thing he's going to do that thing for himself in that moment. It may come with 2 to go, but I'd say, you take a risk. The one thing that you don't want to do is go back to, if we're talking about Penske, for example, you don't want to go back to Roger Penske and have to look him in the face and say, the move I made cost us both a win.
Yeah.
Whatever move you make, it better be the one that wins you the race. If you're going to take a win from your teammate, you better be able to know for sure that move is the one that will win you the race, so that you can't cost both of you the race.
So let me ask you this: if you're Ryan and Joey, you're running top 3 to 5 the first stage. Do you take stage points? You know what I mean? Like, are you stage pointing this thing in the beginning, or are you setting yourself up for the win? Because to me,
I'm just racing like hell.
But I know that, but like, you're going to have to pick one side or the other, because at some point.
No, you don't. You can race for stage points and the win.
I guess.
Why not? It's a race. Go race. The only thing that I think could actually truly affect that is their fuel mileage. What's their objective, right? To be in the best position late in the race to assure themselves the track position. And if they have to say, look, I got to do this thing that's going to cost us track position now and likely stage points, but it's going to benefit us later, then I see them doing that. But I'm thinking of it from just purely the driver's standpoint. My mentality would be go to the front, be at the front, take the lead.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
And I think they will. I think they'll have a good shot at doing that. I think they'll be in control of some of that. But at some point, what I was saying is the decision's going to have to be made. Do we take first and second on this stage, or do we sacrifice a little bit here?
You can do both, though. Like Kyle Larson in earlier this year, first in stage 1, second in stage 2, second for the race. So you're right. Like you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, you can.
It's so hard at Talladega though, because of the wrecks and stuff. You know how hard it is. We're talking about them being the guillotine of the race. That's a hard point to get to.
TJ, the wrecks are the wrecks.
They are. Well, yeah.
When you go to Talladega or Daytona, you can't strategize for crashes.
No, you can't. I agree with that.
You just race. You just got to race.
I agree with you 100%. I go and race. If you race hard every lap and see where you end up.
Open and
they'll probably qualify up front.
I feel like that your chances of crashing in Talladega are 80%. Right? Let's just roughly say
that's Russell.
you got an 80% chance of crashing. All right? Now that might drop down to like 70 if you race hard all day. If you're in protect mode and defense mode and just if you're in like conservative mode, you might actually raise that percentage. And I just feel like that if you're racing hard all the time, then there's a better chance of you being in front of the crash when it happens. At least that's what my experience was. And anytime I tried to be conservative or chill or lay back or settle in any point in the race, I'm like, I'm actually in the danger zone right here. This ain't good at all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually going to drive into the wreck when it starts to happen. You know, so I think it's a good practice to be of the mindset that I want to lead every lap. It's not realistic that you're leading every lap, but if you're in the mindset of I'm going to be doing everything I can all the time to try to be in the lead, then I think that you're putting yourself in a safer spot.
You are. I think when you get 2-3 rows back, you're stuck right there. You're just kind of like, it could get you.
Yeah, if it happens, it's right where you're at. Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. back again for another episode of the Dale Jr. Download, and we got a great guest for you today. His name is Kevin Pennell, but everybody knows him in the racing industry as Two Beers. We're going to learn how he got that nickname. You can imagine how that might have came about. But this guy, Kevin, Two Beers, whatever you want to call him, has been part of the DEI circle for a really long time. He was working with the AC Delco crew when I would come in and drive that car for 2 championships in 98 and 99. He was with the Bud guys back in those days, and we've just always been together, one big family. Dad gave you your nickname Two Beer.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? I've always wondered this.
Well, obviously the late model racing, we went to the beach and raced with you on some of the big races. And we went down there and everybody wanted to go out to some establishments.
Oh, yeah.
I went out with them. Figured I was going to get in, but I didn't get in, got thrown out.
Damn. Too young.
Sit out there in a dually, and there was a cooler of beer. So I sat out there with the cooler of beer by myself until they decided to come back. I was passed out.
Damn.
I done sit in there and got sick.
Yeah.
And
no.
Messed up all over the side of it. Yeah.
Oh,
so they were like, you know what I mean? Oh, you know what I mean? You can't drink. You don't need but 2 beers and all this stuff. And then they got back to the shop, and your dad was like, told me I could go with her, but I couldn't, get into trouble drinking and all that other jazz with them. Got back to the shop, and the story time hit on Monday nights.
Yep.
He went down to the house and came back. And
if there's a story to be told, and them boys in that shop know it, you ain't surviving.
You can't hide it.
You can't hide it.
Can't hide
it's
it.
coming out. 5 o'clock, the damn beer cooler came into the shop, and the 5 Alive and the Absolute vodka.
Or Jack and Diet Syndrome.
Yeah. All that stuff came out of the cabinets, and it was story time.
So he went down to the house and came back, and he had a stein, and it would only hold 2 beers. And I didn't know it at the time, and he set the stein on the table. And he says, 2 beer, like that, you know what I mean? And I didn't answer, and he's like, he goes, Kevin, like that. And I go, what? He goes, I got a mug right here, and this mug will only hold 2 beers. Whenever you think you're brave enough to drink another beer again, you can have it, but this is all you can have. And I'm going to put it up here in the cabinet.
Yeah.
And he slid it up there in the cabinet with all the pictures where they were and all that stuff. But that's where it's set for all them years.
Damn.
And it was just it got exposed on a Monday Night Thunder night,
Man, your nickname Two Beer has followed you ever since.
Nobody
calls you Kevin.
And that's the thing about it, people, you get in uniforms and you get Kevin put on there, and they're like, Kevin, when did you get that name? You know what I mean? But, Mom and Dad, they're not really proud of it, but in the same stuff, you know what I mean? It got me to where I am today. You know what I mean? I mean, your name is your name, but hey.
Yeah.
I'd much rather get it from who I got it from than someone else.
Check out Dirty Mo Media on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok.